Hello and welcome to my wrap-up Celtophile readathon video. This will include the reads as well as a Celtic song book tag that was created by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. Nicole created both the tag as well as the readathon event. Be sure to also check out my fellow co-hosts for this event, Margaret Pinard and Philip at A Poet Reads. First, the Celtic Songs book tag. This is Nicole's original book tag, and it involves rock songs and Celtic songs as bookish prompts. So number 1, Drunken Lullabies by Flogging Molly, a book involving a celebration that you enjoyed. This one's going to be a bit different, but I immediately thought of The Eye of the World, the first book in the series by Robert Jordan, and early on we're coming up to the celebration of Beltane. Now, of course, in this book, a fun time isn't when animals, creatures from legends suddenly all show up in your village. But Beltane is coming up very soon here in May. So that's why I picked Eye of the World. Number 2, The Parting Glass by Ed Sheeran, a book that left you feeling bittersweet because it ended. Now for this, you have to go back several decades. And by several, I mean the late 1970s, which is when I first read Interview with the Vampire. Now I just finished reading it again for, may have been the third or fourth time. I do enjoy reading about Louis. But when I first read it, and it was first published, so Louis was my third vampire after, of course, Dracula, then Barlow by King, and Interview came out the following year. So, of course, at that time, you had no idea that this series was going to develop into 13 other books, I believe it is now. And I'm excited to be reading this series again, this time in order, as I've read them all over the place in the last few years. But this time I'm reading them in order with Kat from Ginger Bibliophile, and I'm looking forward to our discussions about the different events and things that come up in the books. Prompt number 3 is Rebel Yell by Billy Idol. I remember that song. A book you read because someone told you not to read it. That, of course, would be ACOTAR. Oh, I am getting mileage out of this book and series. I have to give Sarah J. Maas that much. Now, as far as the first book, it was fine. If I had stopped there, I would have been fine with it was a great book. But continuing on with the series, and I still, as of this recording, have 9 weeks to wait for the last book, currently last book, which will be number 4, to finish up the entire series. Prompt number 5, Starman by David Bowie, another of my favorite artists, a sci-fi book about aliens. This is one I have yet to finish. This is by yet another great musician and author and booktuber, Gareth Howells, and this is The Brown Yelp Gang. I'm now up to season 3 in Farscape, and if Gareth watches this, he'll know what that means, as one of the characters in his novel definitely reminds me of a character in Farscape. I need to get back to this. I started this a little while ago, so I really need to find out what happens with this rock band. And Kat over at Ginger Bibliophile did a review of the book, so you can go check that out as well. Number five, Shipping Up to Boston by Dropkick Murphys. See, I remember the group Boston. A fiction or nonfiction book set in or around Boston. I don't have any of those, so I'm going to have to skip that one. And if I do, it's not coming to memory, but I'm pretty sure I don't. Number 6, The Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond. Hopefully I said that right. A book that's centered around nature. Would be Fairy Stones, one of my Celtophile reads. This is by Siri Norman. It talks about different locations, the stones themselves, the different purposes, the different fae and deities they're related to, as well as moving gently through nature. Now, actually, I have 2 books for that prompt. The one that I did finish, also for Celtophile, is Scottish Witchcraft. This is by Raymond Buckland. The focus is on the Picts, the history of magic of the Picts. It talks quite a bit about their practice being solitary and very much connected to nature and respecting nature. Number 7, 2 Recruiting Sergeants by Seamus Kennedy, a fiction or nonfiction book about war. I really don't read about war or watch things about war. I think about the closest thing I'm going to come. No. One of the closest books that I have to that subject is The Lore of the Bard, because of course there's so many things written there about the Druids, much of it inaccurate, sadly, partly because the tradition was oral and what was written down was recorded by people who had very biased opinions. Another book that I have, I've mentioned it in a previous video, is Lords of the Battle, as well as Warrior Women. So there you go. I guess I do read about wars. It just took me a while to process. So yes, it does turn out I read about war. I just don't read about the ones with guns and weapons of mass destruction. I typically read about the ones that involve ancient cultures, hand-to-hand combat, trying to force one way of life onto an unwilling group and how that all plays out. And yeah, at the moment, that's hitting a little too close to home, I'm thinking. Number 8, Molly Malone by the Dubliners, a book with a badass female main character. That would have to be Tessa in Obsidian Murders, the first book in Nicole's series. Very much looking forward to reading more of Tessa's adventures. She's a human with some different abilities. There's an interesting cast of characters, and I love that it's horror, but not the kind that would give you nightmares. It's just a fun, enjoyable read. An Irish Pub Song by the Rum Jacks, a book that is misunderstood. For that one, I would have to say The Secret. No, I do not have that book. I unhauled that years ago. And the reason it's misunderstood, yes, it's about law of attraction, and there are a ton of books out there, some by authors that I still have, But the big thing with The Secret is, and any of the law of attraction books for that matter, thought without action equals nothing. In other words, you can't just sit on the couch and expect that your life is going to turn around. You can't just sit there thinking, ooh, my YouTube channel is going to take off. Ooh, I'm going to get this job that I'm hoping for. Ooh, money's going to show up in the bank, so I'll just keep shopping like I have it. That's not how the real world works. Yes, your YouTube channel may take off, but guess what? You need to upload content, make connections, network, and do something. It isn't just going to sit there and go gangbusters without some effort and work on your part. As far as, getting that job you're really wanting, again, make sure you have the qualifications. If you don't, look into the schooling you need or upgrading or training and get her done. Then you actually need to fill out the application, get the interview, be successful at the interview, and then yes, you will get the job, hopefully. But again, there are steps that you need to do. The money magically appearing in your bank, yeah, that's not happening unless you know how to win the lottery. And trust me, I've been waiting 37 years for the husband to pull that one off, and I'm still waiting. My point is, you would be much better served reading a book like 21 Rituals to Change Your Life by Teresa Chung. Simple exercises, morning, noon, and night. Easy to do. They don't take hours. They get you in the right headspace. And guess what? Being in the right headspace and working towards your goals is how you achieve them. That's the thing that so many of these law of attraction books miss out on. It isn't just sitting and thinking and wishing. Yes, there are things you actually need to do to make those dreams become reality. And of course, because it's always fun, and this is how I know if Ven's watching, Santiago didn't just sit there under that tree after the dream and think, I'm going to find my treasure. He went off on the journey. He had some difficult times and different adventures, but in the end, guess what? He found the treasure. But it took him years to get there, not days, and not just sitting and thinking about it. Prompt number 10 is to tag some other people. I'm putting this up at the end of March, which is very close to the end of the Celtophile readathon, but you could do this tag any time of the year. If you do so, please be sure to tag me so I can come and see your answers. The other part of this video, and if you're wondering why I'm looking to the side, I have the prompts to the side for a change. Normally what I've done with tags is print off all the prompts and then I have my answers. But yay, I figured out that, you know what, if I throw this up in Pages, because I'm on my iMac, throw this up in Pages, I have all my prompts, I can do my recording, then I can just shoot this into iMovies, clean it up where I need to, and boom, we're done. Yay! If you've been here for a little while, you know my content goes all over the place. So, back to getting on track with the Celtophile readathon. As I mentioned earlier, this was created by Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook. I was honored to be a co-host along with Philip, a poet reads and writes, as well as Margaret Pinard. It's been a fun month of reading. Please be sure to check out everyone's channels to find out what they were reading for this event. I do know Two of the other participants were Stuart Griffin as well as Jen over at Literally Love 123. If you participated and I haven't mentioned you, please be sure to leave a thumbs up or a little 4-leaf clover down below in the comments so that other people can come and watch your videos as well, and I would enjoy coming over to find out what books you read. The prompts as far as the event, now I had quite a stack of books that I had hoped to get to, but March was not a huge reading month. I mean, the world's topsy-turvy. Things are a little more turbulent here in Canada. We have an election coming up in a few weeks. Thankfully here, it's only I think it's 38 days, start to finish. Typically it's just a month, but the election was called early. So there are a number of things that I'm trying to pay attention to, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, because who knows what'll happen, but at least if you're prepared, if it turns out the other way, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with having a backup plan should it be needed. But as far as the prompts, number 1, read a book with a green, white, orange, or all three cover. And that book is Scottish Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. We have the green, orange, and white. It's certainly about Celtic belief systems. I'll talk more specifically about this book in an upcoming video. Number 2, a book written by Morgan Llewellyn. Although I have a ton of books that were published by Llewellyn, I don't have any of Morgan Llewellyn's work, so she's an author that I will have to check into in the future. Number 3, read a book written by a native-born Celtic author. I actually had 2 that I finished this month. The first was The Green Man, The Spirit of Nature, and this is by John Matthews. I also read The Book of Irish Legends. This is by Ian Saksek. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So sorry. And yes, they are both Celtic born. Read a fiction or nonfiction book about Ireland. All time periods are welcome. For that one, I'm going to go with the Irish Legends. It was a very interesting and fascinating read. I enjoyed that this author also has a pronunciation key at the back, which helps with some of the names. Read a Celtic fantasy novel. I had hoped to get The Once and Future King started. That might be Celtic fantasy, but unfortunately I didn't get to it, and I'll go through the books that I had planned but are now on my bumped down the line list. Number 6, read a fiction or nonfiction book about Celtic myths, legends, or tales. That was The Green Man. I read this early in March. It was a very enjoyable read. It gives, for a small book, quite a bit of history, talks about the different locations and the symbolism of the Green Man. It was a read that I very much enjoyed, and I am looking forward to making my own little Green Man for the yard this year. Number 7, read a Celtic historical fiction novel. Now for that one, I may have also been thinking of Arthur, but I unfortunately didn't get to it. Like I say, March did not turn into the big reading month I was hoping. I had also hoped that I would have ticked some of the, I was also hoping to participate in Historathon, but we're just a few days away, so I've certainly missed the first quarter for that. So, of the stack of books that I had planned, I did manage to finish 3 and cover a few of the prompts. I am hoping to finish Fairy Stones before the end of the month. It's the 26th today. I have a few more days and I'm fairly close to the finish because I believe this also includes a bibliography and references, which I always appreciate. So that's makes the finish even closer. What I didn't get to, but will still certainly be on my radar and coming up, is the Mabinogion. That ties in with a number of legends and some of the other studies this year. The Book of Celtic Magic will definitely be finished before December 2025, as I've started my big pagan project. This ties in with it, and I've even finished, and I'll have to show it in an upcoming video. I now have my little spiral ring book that I made myself to do notes and recordings. Another book that will definitely be read this year at some point is Nature Speak. This is by Ted Andrews, and this has to do with signs, omens, and messages in nature. That will be a perfect tie-in with Animal Guides, which I've also read a couple of times by Ted Andrews, and it's always my go-to when something new happens in terms of guides. This will have to wait until after I've completed book 2 of the Wheel of Time series, The Great Hunt, because as a co-host with Ven at Ven's Corner, I should probably be on top of the reading. But we've all had different life events and things happen, and that's the beauty of low stress. People understand reading groups. If we're behind, that's okay. We'll all get there when we get there. So, yes, Arthur and Merlin are going to have to wait a little bit longer. Finding Merlin is definitely on my pagan studies need to read this year list. So again, I've already got a big group of books waiting. I just didn't get to them this month. And I already mentioned that I did start The Lore of the Bard, but this is nonfiction. This isn't going to be a quick read it front to back and absorb everything. So this again ties in with the pagan studies, and I'll continue to read little bits here and there. Yes, there will be sticky tabs. Sorry, Noah, there will be tons of color and writing throughout this book as I try to figure out and understand all the information. That is my Celtophile tag and reading wrap up. As I said, if you participated, let me know in the comments down below so I can come and see what you were reading through the month. I would like to say a big thank you to my co-hosts and the event creator, Nicole. This was a wonderful break. I enjoyed going through and finding all my Celtic reads. Even if I didn't get them finished during March, I at least got some of them started. As you can see in this picture, my reading plans for April are very different from my reading plans in March. What, of course, isn't in that basket are the projects that I have on the go. So the Bible study, the pagan studies, positive energy that I'm working through, the Artist's Way that I'm working through. So yes, the non-project basket is much smaller. I've got 4 big books that I just picked up from the library that I need to get to because, of course, there's a due date on those. 3 of them are by Michael Shermer. One is about Alfred Wallace, the individual who originally started working with Charles Darwin, and then they split off. So although pretty much everybody knows Charles Darwin's name, although I'm sure there are a few exceptions who don't have a clue, but there are a lot of people who haven't heard about Alfred Wallace, who originally began working with Charles Darwin. Alfred Wallace became involved with spiritualism and various other studies, so probably a big part of why his name was kind of kept down in the lower ranks. Plus, he was from the working class, not one of the hoity-toities, so again, 2 strikes against him, sadly. But I'm looking forward to that read. I'll likely end up having to renew possibly 1 or 2 of the books. And sadly, the Michael McDowell, The Elementals, didn't come in yet. Go figure, the horror book that I put on hold first and then found all these others. So I guess I was meant to read the nonfictions beforehand. That wraps up Celtophile, what I'm looking at reading in April. Let me know what your plans are for April. Are you doing fiction, nonfiction, a combination of both? How is your reading going? Have you noticed that so far, like a number of us I've heard from this year, things are slowing down a bit? Or have you found that your reading's pretty much on par and that's what's helping you get through all of this? Until next time, remember, be safe, be well, and big hugs.